All right, guys. Let's see. All right, it's having me admit everybody, so that's what we're going to be doing. I'll wait like probably 2 more minutes to get as many people in here as we can, and then I'll start it. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. I am really excited. This is the first time I've had time for stocks literally all weekend. Been up to my neck in work, so I'm really excited to get back to it. So, one sec. Oh, that looks fun. Dow futures fall nearly 100 points as Wall Street takes a breather after last week's gains. And this is on CNBC, which they are decently reliable. So, we'll take a quick look. 2% on NASDAQ. Oh, and 30% since March 23rd. Okay, so some of the industries we're going to be looking at tonight. My personal favorite for the week is going to be airline industries because their earnings reports come out this week. So currently, the one that I will be analyzing first is United Airlines. They had some crappy news over the weekend. Their CEO on Friday had stated that they would not be able to pay anybody and they also wouldn't be able to refund anybody because the bailout only accounted for 30% of their current costs. So that is a problem for them because the Democratic Party, there's a few senators who are throwing a fit over that. So I am expecting them to have a massive drop this week. Maybe not quite to March 18th level, $19. I mean, that would be sweet. I'd make a decent amount of money. I'm currently holding a $23 put, strike price of $23 for April 24th. So I would be benefiting greatly if they drop that much. But at the moment, I am. Oops, looks like we got some people needing to be admitted. Copy. All right, guys who just joined, we are currently looking at UAL. Airlines are going to be sort of my focus for tonight because I don't think that they have much of a chance of a gain this week. We're looking at some
more realistic.
What?
Right now.
So right now we saw them spike up a little bit on Friday. Oddly enough, in the morning they took a decent jump up, and I'm expecting them because right now they are sitting at that 6.18. They've been hovering, and at close they actually had dropped underneath that support and sat on this 0.5 at the 2901 support. I currently, oh, sorry, I'm getting rumsy in here. But I currently believe that because they broke this 6.18% support, we're probably looking at a pretty steep dive at open. I would estimate, based on this, we're probably looking at anywhere from a 28.46 into this 28.10 range. And if they drop even lower than that, we're probably looking at a decent gap down throughout the day. Again, they had not very good news over the weekend. They are not offering cash refunds, but they are offering vouchers. So that is better than what they had said last time. One that I am not going to be looking at tonight as a potential loser is Southwest, because they actually have a really good balance sheet compared to the other airlines. Another one that I'll be looking at right now, we're going to look at ALK, Alaskan Air Group. I did a short analysis on this last week during one of the live sessions. I think that they had potential to gain throughout the day on this past week, and they actually ended up gaining, which was somewhat good for my prediction. However, they don't really have a lot of things going for them, considering that earnings reports come out this week, and theirs is not going to be any better than most of the other airlines. We're probably looking at a dip, considering they gapped up from 28 to this peak over here was 30.3 from 27.51 at open on April 16th to the 17th. We're looking at their high of 30.3. They're currently sitting at 29.93. I think that if they break the support here, actually it'll depend on the gap up or the gap down. Personally, I think they're going to be gapping down. I don't think investors have a lot of faith in airlines right now, especially with the bad news that came out about the bailouts not covering nearly enough from the Treasury. So I would expect there's going to be a lot of sell-offs early in the morning, which is good for puts, bad for calls. And I think that we're probably looking at like a 27 range gap down. 27.5 is probably where I'm looking at them gapping down to, similar to the 16th, 27.61. I would assume it's going to be a very similar start. I don't see them gaining too much. There might be some consolidation or fluctuation, but in the support level here. But in my opinion, throughout the week, we should see a steady decline for ALK, UAL. Another one that I want to look at is SAB,
American.
Spirit Airlines. Yep, I'll also be grabbing American's chart here in a second. But Spirit Airlines is a budget airline, if you guys aren't familiar. They are the cheap one, as me and my wife like to call them, because we get really, really nice flights for really, really cheap. But I expect them to have a very similar dip to the April 3rd week, looking at like $10. They were at 12.4 during the week. They had actually spiked more during the week than they did from the good news from the airline stuff. So I am thinking, or from the Gilead Science news, I am thinking that they're going to have a hard gap down, probably down underneath this 1250 support personally. Again, their balance sheet does not look to be very solid, and from the current market indicators showing that airlines will be on a downtrend this week, and we should be seeing a decent gap down on most, with the exception of Southwest maybe staying pretty steady, and then a good decline throughout the week as long as there's no more Trump tweets to throw a wrench in the thing, saying that airlines are going to be reopening extremely soon. I will grab AAL real quick. AAL, in my opinion, has the worst chance of a gain. They are not the most consistent stock, and they're not the most consistent company when it comes to maintaining or managing their debt. Sorry, not maintaining their debt. They do a very good job at maintaining their debt. They're not very good at managing their debt. So this trend line's a little bit off. It should be about right here. So we are looking at them currently testing this 0.5 support. They're already under the 0.618. So typically if you're on an uptrend and you hit the 0.618, we're looking at a bounce up. If you're off of a downtrend, then you're probably looking at a dip down. Currently, they were on a downtrend, and when they tested this a few times, they did spike over it throughout the day, but right now they're underneath it. So I'm expecting them to probably drop down to probably $11. The same similar test that they had down here. That 1105 support seemed to hold them on the 16th, but I do not see it holding them in the long run. Let me check their 1 month real quick. With their dip, wow, their original dip, 9.23 as their lowest. Maybe not quite down to 11. I think a very similar start here. There's potential for AAL because of the earnings report to actually hit an all-time low, or a 52-week low, sorry. I would be watching this if you're looking for long-term investment. This might be a chance to buy the dip. Personally, I won't be going after AAL because their upside isn't quite as good as Delta or United. So I will grab Deltas real quick. We can do a little. Oh, that is not right. There we go. DAL. I don't know why I typed Delta. All right, as soon as we get a load up here, I can get that's a nice chart actually. Let's zoom it out for a second. Let's look at their 1 month first before I make any predictions. If it'll load up. Sorry about the lag, guys. My bandwidth is not the greatest at the moment with all of the people home. There we go. All right. Wow, they spiked extremely well. So they have been on a downtrend with some spike ups recently. Honestly, this looks more like a consolidation pattern than anything. It looks like they're sitting between the 22, 26. Anytime they're uptrend, they immediately downtrend. So I'm not looking at this as a bullish pattern or a bearish at the moment. I think consolidation looks more like the acceptable analyses right now. So for their 5-day low, they're at 22. They're currently they closed 24, 27. I think that Delta, as long as they follow the trend of the rest of the airlines that I'm predicting, should have a down week. They should be in the red for the most part. Their earnings won't be very good considering they've had, this should be a January to March earnings report, if I'm not mistaken. And if that is the case, I don't think that they'll have very good stock jump available. So we're probably looking at a dip down in the very similar to the 5-day low, a 22 range, anywhere from $23 to $22 on the gap down, with potential for them to continue dropping throughout the week. I don't see them having much of a recovery early in the week. They might rebound slightly. So if you are looking to buy into Delta, they are one of the better equities shares to hold for the long run, in my opinion. So buying that dip is not a bad idea if you're looking for a long hold. I also would warn that I'm not sure that that will be their low for this current, what I would call a recession for our economy. I think they have potential to go much lower, uh, like most airlines, if the COVID-19 does not work itself out, um, especially if we don't reopen domestic flights or international flights anytime soon. All right. That being said, I'm going to close out of these uh, airline charts. And the next one I'm going to be looking into industry-wise is we're going to look at gold. And for me, the first one I like to look at is Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold is a pretty solid performing stock over the last 5 years. They are currently not having the worst year, especially since their stock has gained quite a bit since March. I would say that they have potential for gain. I read an analysis by Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. He has some very excellent economic analysis skills, and he, based on the recession, typically in a recession or a lower economy, when the US dollar is being inflated like it is because of the printing of the US dollar right now by the Fed, gold increases in value. So gold companies are probably on the rise for the most part across the board. They saw a bad day on Friday. They actually peaked on Wednesday this past week. Thursday, they dropped with news that that there was a possible cure, and that we were looking at opening up the economy again with that tweet from Trump and the press conference, so that after hours gains sort of threw off gold because the price of gold actually started going down. Gold is on a 2% price decrease over the last 4 trading days. Or sorry, no, 4 days, 2 trading days. So Monday, we should be looking at an increase in gold price, which will bring up overall the gold industry as a whole. I personally like Barrick for day trade, not for long equity hold, because they are one that tends to decrease as the economy is going better, because gold is not as valuable in a profitable economy. Okay, so with Barrick being on an uptrend throughout that week, they had a small dip, and then they rebounded on the 16th. And then randomly, nope, not randomly, that is the open. On the 17th, they dipped very, very low, hit bottom support, spiked up over the 618, consolidated here, and then they had a little bit of a run, and they're ending at this one, the 2454 resistance. So depending on how gold is currently trading, which we can check right now, let's do that. I personally like cnnmoney.com or money.cnn.com for futures. They also include oil, gold, lumber, and corn on the bottom. Oh, and natural gas. So crude is way down. So that's excellent news if you are holding oil puts. It's also excellent news if you're looking to buy into oil. With Saudi Arabia shipping over 40 million barrels this past weekend, we're probably looking at a surplus of about 70% of what we currently are consuming. So I would put oil as a downtrend for this entire week, possibly into the future as well. I will be looking for the OPEC plus agreement to go into effect May 1st. So there's some potential for us to sort of cut down that surplus, increase and stabilize the price of oil per barrel. But at the moment, I'm not seeing that being a very good rebound until probably into June and July for a long hold. Gold is currently dropping in price, so with a slight increase there. But this is actually higher than what it closed for on Friday. It was at 1676. So we're seeing a slight increase, but since open, it has decreased. So we should be looking at an increase in gold over the week. Maybe not enough to bring significant jumps in stock price, but definitely for 1 to 2% increases for companies like Barrick and FNV, which is another one I like. That is the current one that I've been watching for calls. I'm a fan of Franco Nevada Corp. I did a little bit of background research on them, watched a few videos, and they had some quality analysis for the upcoming recession for their predictions. I think they were very, very, very overly optimistic with the price of gold. They claimed that if we hit the low as far as the market of what they believe we will hit before this all comes in and gets any better for us, we would be looking at a $20,000 price for gold, which I find quite unbelievable. But for my long holds, I would love to see that. I personally don't think it'll get above $2,000 or $3,000 if we dip too low. But as far as they're on an incline since May of last year, actually, so that's good. Had a really hard dip here, March to the 13th. That's interesting. I wonder what news was around that time. Anyways, we'll look at their 5-day chart. They seem to be, well, currently they're on an uptrend as far as our last day of trading. There definitely was an uptrend early in the week. I think it peaked here, which would be, I believe that's Tuesday. Nope, I believe that's Wednesday actually. And then drop down. Nope, that's their 5-week low, which was open on Friday. And they actually ended up being decently high for the week, ending their peak at 125.16. So let's look at their, my fibs aren't popping up for some reason. Oh, it's because I'm not on full feature chart. That would be why. Sorry about that. Okay, that looks a lot better. Getting some lag on it though. Sorry about that. Okay, 5-day chart. We have them in a sort of jump here that I'm not really used to seeing. This is a lot of resistance and support levels being jumped over, which in my opinion would mean that we had some external factors, i.e. the media, affecting the jumps. I'll move this down so that I can see a little bit better. Looking at all right, the 1-day. They're on a definite uptrend, so I'm looking for this to be a little bullish. I mean, I think this is hitting a top resistance level, personally. Oh, actually, not quite the resistance level, but it did not break this very cleanly. So we can see here about 1535 time, they started entering a consolidating pattern here. When they broke this, looked like they went on a small run, didn't quite reach resistance up here, but they came down pretty quickly and continued consolidating. Personally, I believe that gold is a good hold at the moment. So buying in on a dip isn't a bad idea, especially if the economy stays halted like it is in quarantine right now. We could be seeing some decent gains because the value of the dollar, if we continue printing stimulus, will keep increasing the price of gold. So this is not a bad company to be looking at either. Of course, there's JNUG, and that is a Direxion daily junior gold, minor, and silver index. So I like JNUG personally. They are currently on a drop, which isn't a huge deal in my opinion. They peaked at about $8 earlier in the week after being in the $4 range last week, or the week before, sorry. So I think that they have potential for gaining as price of gold increases. We can see that they were on a definite downtrend over the last 5 days. They peaked on the 14th, which would be Wednesday, I'm pretty sure, and downtrended for most of the week with a slight gain here on the 16th. Looks like they peaked at 718 and continued to downtrend the rest of the week. So we're probably looking at a fairly bearish outlook on JNUG at the moment. It will depend on where they open, though, because if they can jump past this point, 0.618 resistance line at 650, if they start above that, I believe they have potential to go on a slight run, maybe into the $7 range, like we saw on Friday when they touched 6.96, so close to $7. I think that this resistance level is really hard for them to break, being in a bearish, but it will depend on either the jump up or the drop. I will not be looking for a position in JNUC personally this week. I think I will watch the gold trade. If price continues to decrease, I will wait until I feel that there is a potential for significant gain on them. I also want to mention that JNUG, I believe, JNUG and JDST, which is the inverse of JNUG, should be entering a reverse split fairly soon. Yep. They will be doing a reverse split of 12 of their ETFs. Let's just pull this up real quick because it's really good to pay attention to reverse splits. Reverse splits can be beneficial, but most of the times they are not. It typically means that the company is not doing the greatest for their share price per share. So we are looking at JNUG that's JDST right here. JDST is going from 25 to 1. That is a significant split. Wow. I don't see the bull index on there. Oh, there it is. They are doing what's that say? Bull 3 shares. There it is. 10 to 1 split. So that's also a decent reverse split. Out of the split, because they will appear to have gained value quickly, especially if people have been following them for a while, there might be a slight run early on after this goes into effect, which would be April 22nd, and that would be Wednesday. So we're probably looking at a potential for a small run if you buy directly after the reverse split. But typically there is a pretty hard sell-off on those as well after a reverse split. So that one I'd be really careful touching, JDST or JNUG or Nugget at this point, NUGT, whichever one you prefer, because those are going to be pretty volatile until they can stabilize in the market. Okay. One other one that I love. Cool. Zoom gave us some extra time. That's awesome. So one other stock I am really fond of over the last few weeks is AMD. Advanced Micro Devices Incorporated has been on a significant uptrend over the last few weeks. If you have been in the server, you will have seen that they have been on my watch list since April 13th, I believe. My very first watch list I dropped for you guys, which they have been on a nice little run since then. Let's look at their 5-day. April 13th. If we would have bought in on April 13th, you'd be looking at a position at $48. And if you were to have sold on the peak of 58.46. So that is a $10 increase, which for a stock like this is decently significant, actually. One of their competitors I've been watching, Intel, has also been on a slight gain. But I really like AMD because they, a lot of people, a lot of tech companies are buying up a lot of their microprocessors because they envision there being a shortage in the coming future because of the lack of ability to produce from China being shut down for so long. Okay, so personally, I'm thinking that AMD is going to have a strong opening on Monday. I would push them to this 58 range. And if they hop that, look for them to try and make a run to break this 60.89 resistance line. I think that resistance actually is probably a little bit lower, probably about 60 line. If they break that, we could see some consolidation here and then a dip back down. I think this is, if they open above this 58.11 line, then we're looking at this becoming the new support. Right now, it seems they have a very strong support line at, what is that, 55.88. Since they crossed that line on April 15th, they have not touched it, or they haven't dipped below it for longer than a few minutes at a time, and always coming directly back up. So I would say that AMD is a very safe one to buy into right now, especially if you see a dip. My personal entry point, if they do not jump above 58, would be around anywhere from 56 even or lower. I do think they have potential to be in the low 60s to mid 60s by week's end if they continue on the growth. That is good for that chart. And we'll check out Intel for the last one before I do some questions and like stock screening for you guys. And this will be available on the watch list that I post tonight as well, along with the video being on our YouTube channel. It's Spotlight Trading. We had to do a name change to avoid confusion, but it is perfect for what I believe as far as a trading philosophy. But we can get into that another time. All right. Intel had some huge jumps this week from the 13th to the 14th. That is a almost $4 jump. That is pretty significant. And since then, that's looking like a very nice uptrend. They had a downtrend and then rebounded well. Opening will depend on whether or not they will be in a bearish, because if they continue to go down, we're just looking at a continuation of a downtrend with a nice rebound. If they keep going up, we'd be potentially looking at an ascending triangle if they can complete it here. Actually, it would be a little bit higher, but regardless, I think Intel's a pretty solid stock to invest into. They have had very good stock history. Let's look at their 5-year. They have been on consistent growth for their 5-year, with only a few dips coming in August and May of 2019. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, March 13th through the 19th of, or 18th of that week was lovely for most stocks. So they peaked at about almost $70. So I definitely think that they have potential to hit that 70 mark in the next few months if current trend is to be believed for them. I don't believe that the travel bans or the quarantine is having much effect on their stock price, because they are a tech company, and tech companies haven't really been hurting all too much from this quarantine. I like Intel and I like AMD for that reason. They have some really solid dividend returns as well. If you're looking to hold equity shares, looking for a dip on them might be the move for you. I would say that their lowest potential dip for Monday would be in that 59 range. I don't see them breaking that personally. That seems to be the support since this point, April 16th. So they had that support for the rest. And honestly, it's looking like we're having a support line in this 59.80 range and up since late in the day, the 16th. So, yeah, I think as far as my market outlook, I believe we should have a decently red week on airlines. Gold has potential to be green, and I think as if current trends are to be believed, any of the computer processing chip manufacturing companies like AMD, Intel, we're looking at a potentially green week as well. So that being said, is there any stocks that you guys want me to take a look at, or anything that you guys want me to just chart for you, anything like that? Any questions I can help with?
So we were talking a few days ago about PACD and USWS.
Yes.
What's your thinking on that right now?
All right, let me grab their charts real quick. USWS. I think personally, based on oil dropping $3 over the weekend, those are going to dip. This might be a nice entry point for that longer hold, like I was talking into June and July. I don't think that PACD or USWS are going to be making huge rebounds anytime soon. As far as like a 2-week or 3-week hold, we might see a nice spike in oil stock in general when the May 1st start date of that OPEC deal comes into play. We're not going to look at that right now. The support line for them seems to be this 0.43. They actually held this support line pretty nicely, this 0.44. But personally, I think they're going to be dropping down under 40 cents a share. This might be a good position to take for a long hold. in USWS. I don't think that they have much of a chance of increasing in value over the surplus of oil because most likely American companies will have to actually shut down a lot of their oil fields in order to curb this current oversupply. The other one you said was PAC-D, correct?
Yes.
All right. Look at that full feature chart. Do you currently hold positions in these?
Only in USWS.
What was your average in?
I think it was 0.4459.
Okay. If you want to continue holding, which probably is the case since they're going to open low, I would look to average down, possibly. Meaning that you buy a similar amount of shares to try and get your average cost down so that you can profit more in the long run on a run up. PAC-D is on a very bad decline since they peaked on April 9th. All the oil hype when the OPEC deal. And it didn't even, yeah, that's sad. 93 cents, that's pretty impressive. I think that PAC-D is going sub 50 pretty easily. We're probably looking actually around a 44 or lower open for them, in my opinion. I don't think they have much of a chance of having a green day at all, let alone a green week with all the surplus. So averaging down if you're holding position might be a good idea. If you're not holding a current position in USWS, RIG, GUSH, or PAC-D, and you want to take a gamble that they will recover, there is some decent calls on those, but holding a position might be a little bit safer. Buying shares at this lower entry level, I believe that they actually will probably downtrend through the entire week. So when you feel comfortable to buy in, that would be my advice. I might look at entry point for PAC-D around 44 or lower. I would not buy in above that personally. Anything else I can help you guys with?
Can you look at Starbucks?
Yes, I can. Give me 1 second. I don't know what. Oh, Intel Core. That's Starbucks TBX. They have had an interesting ride with Luck and Donut going delisted. Oops. SBX. Nope, that's not right either.
I think it's STBX.
That's what I thought, but it was coming up Street Box Real Estate Fund.
I think it's SBUX.
SBUX, that's what it is. You're right. There it is. We can check out some Starbucks. I like Starbucks stock. They have had a fun little run since they bottomed out on March 18th. That's a $21 increase. So that would have been a great buy-in if you guys had been in the market at the time. Pull up that full feature chart. Let's check the chat. What do we got? All right. Zoom stated that he agrees with my point on RIG, PAC-D, and USWS. So that is good. Thanks, Zoom, for endorsing that. I appreciate it. And Starbucks, what is this, the 5-day? That is the 5-day. They are on a nice little run then. That's a pretty obvious uptrend. You guys can see that. That was a 70.8. So they're on a $7, almost a $7 swing up since the 15th when they hit at 70.85.
Hey, I have a quick question.
1 sec, but I'm gonna continue analyzing this for OC Girl real quick. Well, is it about Starbucks? My bad.
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
Could this be due to Luckin Coffee having their internal investigation type of thing, their weird stuff?
Oh, it definitely was an increase. That happened 2 weeks ago, so that was about right here. I remember because I actually held a Luckin Donut put at the time for $25, and they hit $4. So that was a very, very nice profit
Oh,
that
wow.
paid my rent for the month. So, yeah. So when Luckin dropped because of their fraudulent stuff, Starbucks immediately spiked. This is the third. This is the day that that happened. So that was right here. We're looking at.
Starbucks also just released news that they're going to be opening up their stores May 1st.
That is excellent news for them. So I would expect. Wait, where is their 6-month chart? If they're opening May 1st, that would be a very. This could be a very profitable little stock entry point. Especially if that's confirmed that they're going to be doing that. That was their statement. When was that, Friday, or was that this week?
I think it was Friday.
I'm checking the. Yeah, if they are going to be opening May 1st, I would be looking at. OC Girl, do you do options trading? Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I would be in the market for a call on them for the, what is that following week? The May 8th, if there's one available, or the May 16th, looking at a potential call. I personally would be looking at an $80 strike price, or maybe a touch higher. If there's an $81 strike price, that might be something. I think personally keep at the moment. It will definitely depend on the market open, which actually these are. Oh yeah, no, that's not till 9:30. But yeah, so I would definitely think that that could be a very, very profitable position, especially if that news got out too early. Because right now the market is flooded with newer investors because the stock market is not as expensive as it was, right? So like people are able to buy in on these stocks a lot lower. I think that that's going to push Starbucks up into probably decent mid 80s. Like I said, May 16th. So looking at like a 80 to $83 strike price for those dates that I had said, you might be looking at a decent price. I don't know exactly how much you're working with, but that would be something I'd be looking for a position in.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Anybody else got any questions? Any stocks?
Just a question on whoever said something before we can go.
Oh no, go ahead. That was me.
Oh, okay, sorry. For the options, why pick a strike price on calls that's higher than the money right now?
So for me personally, I'm playing with a very small options account because most of my equities is tied up in my Fidelity account. So my buying power is only in the 500 or 600 range right now. I also have quite a few calls I'm holding on to at the moment. But the higher you go up on your strike price out of the money, the cheaper they're typically going to be. Especially if we're seeing an uptrend with good news, we're making the bet that that strike price outside of the money is going to be within the money by the time you're looking at that becoming close to expiry or the expiration date. So personally, I like with a smaller account, I like to buy a little bit farther out of the money because you can get them cheaper. They will increase in value faster as you approach the the expiration date. But I mean, if you're doing like a weekly trade, like if you were to be trading the 424 expiration date, I would be doing much closer to the money. I'd probably be looking at a 78 call or even a 76 call. Because those are way higher risk because there is a higher time decay. So when we're looking out farther, like 2, 3, 4 weeks out, you are looking at a time decay that's not really very high yet. That final week, however, your time decay kicks in much higher, so your contract loses value quicker. So typically we're not holding our options until expiration unless you have 100 shares worth of buyer power at whatever your strike price is. So if I buy a strike price of $77 and then I need $7,700 in order to actually fulfill the contract and sell for the profits. Whereas I can buy the contract at a premium price and then sell it when that premium price goes into the profit range. I would not be looking to buy lower than the money on a call or lower than the current price on the call for Starbucks. Personally, I think that right now they're going to be overly expensive, but could pay off if they do make that run into the 85 range. But for someone who's working with $500 or $600 buyer power, or even $1,000 buyer power, you could get more contracts if you feel that these are smarter investments, which personally I would be looking at a 78, 79, 80 and up strike price for the May 16th expiration date.
All right.
Actually, I think it's May 17th now that I think about it. No, May 15th. Man, my brain's not working. I apologize, guys. All right, do we have another question that I can answer for you guys?
I know that, I mean, I'm pretty set myself, but I know a lot of people did end up buying into XSPA either on Friday or plan on doing it on Monday. Just in case that they aren't here watching this, they might be able to go back and get an analysis from you on it.
Which stock was that?
XSPA, XSPA.
Oh, XSPA. Yeah, got you. I actually have a position in XSPA at the moment. The news with XSPA is actually decently promising. I bought in when it was at 0.375 and sold at I believe it hit 0.45 on Friday. What was their peak on Friday? Oh, not quite 0.45. 0.415, that's what it was. I actually sold this exact entry point and exit point. Well, not quite exact, but very, very close to that entry and exit point. I think I sold a little bit under and a little bit above where I bought in. But I believe that XSPA has some really, really promising rapid test. I think that because they're already established in airports, they're going to get priority for manufacturing and distribution of the rapid testing kits. So I think that personally, XSPA has a very, very, very high profit rate, definitely potentially. I think that we're probably looking at them hitting or the last 6 months, where was their peak? 1.2. I would say that they probably will be in this range by mid-May, the 1.2 range by mid-May, especially if we open back up the country and Trump and the Congress decide that domestic flights and international flights are no longer a hazard, or that we can schedule those, then we're probably looking at a 1.2 and growing. I think that it will continue to trend up from there, having already been established in airports as a face of their business face being there, business front being there. So I don't think that's a bad investment whatsoever. I'd probably look at them potentially having a gap up into this spike range that they were at back here. I think that anywhere from 39 to 42 even is a decent entry point, and that's for a long hold. If you're trying to day trade this, I would be interested in seeing where it's going to open up. They might actually break this top support, and we'd be looking at a very nice run for them if they gap up that high. But I currently hold I bought this dip here, so I'm at 0.415, I believe is what I set my limit to with 500 shares. So we'll see where that takes me throughout the next week. But I think that XSPA has some very, very high potential for their next few months.
I think one of the things we should be looking out for on Monday and Tuesday is the SEC Form 8K filing and what news would be following that, because nobody really knows for sure. That wasn't specified.
That is a very accurate assessment, man. That kind of slipped my mind. Like I said, I haven't been in stocks all weekend, but that potentially could have a really, really big effect on most of the stocks I actually talked about and the stock market as a whole. So if you guys are monitoring the news, I agree with John that that's a really, really good idea to be in the know for that one.
Nice.
All right.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You read about United, I think, selling 22 planes or something. Is that good or bad news?
Okay, so they entered a buyback agreement with Chinese Air Group, correct? That was the article you're talking about?
Correct.
I think that this could be a potentially helpful thing for their earnings report because it would be looking at relinquishing some of that debt by giving China those planes. However, I don't think it will be enough to stabilize their stock as far as keeping them out of a red week or anything like that. Especially with their earnings report coming out on Wednesday, I really don't see them having a good week.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it might be good for their money wise, but I think a lot of people are going to get turned off by that. Just the word China.
Yeah, I think that right now with the American public who is paying attention to the stocks because we have so many new investors that are currently trying to buy up all these airline companies to try and ride them all the way back up to their highs. We're probably looking at a sell-off on Monday because they're not confident. Sort of like what we saw on Friday. There was a sell-off around 330 for most airlines, and they rebounded slightly over towards close. But I would say that people don't really have faith in the airlines at the moment. So I'm expecting UAL to have a decent drop down. Probably, I mean, I would love for them to get all the way to my strike price of $23 this week. However, I don't think that's an accurate assessment for a 1 week drop for them. They're probably closer to 25 at an optimistic drop, in my opinion. But regardless, I expect a red week for them. Any other questions before I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in late. Just a quick one.
Yeah.
On the Express PA, you said you try to attack them around 38.5, but depending on how it starts, if it goes up, will you jump in? If it gets up there to 43, 44?
I actually bought in on this dip here, so I bought in at 0.4015. So I'm hoping that to ride it even longer. I'm in XPSA for the long haul. I'm not trying to day trade that personally.
You see them you see them hitting $1, huh?
I see them hitting upwards of $1. I honestly think that they could go back to their high back in this area at the 1.3, 1.5. Wow, they really hit a spike there.
Their most recent valuation was $2, and that was before they decided to transition to being an express test. They were just a spa in an airport, so that's something to think about.
Yeah,
They changed their business plan.
exactly. They figured out a way to capitalize on potential for growth, and they also did something really good for PR, in my opinion, by taking that step to transition that the safety of the public, that rapid testing kit is going to be more important in the eyes of the public than the fact that they were already established spot on an airport, because at the end of the day, people are worried about COVID. They're not worried about getting a massage.
For sure.
anymore.
For sure. And that company's got clearance with TSA in the government. So
Yes, exactly, because they're already in the airports. They're already established, and as soon as they can execute with, you know, the appropriate test, you know, I think that they have potential to hit upwards of $1, probably upwards of $2 if things go the way that I am hoping for them. But I'm in them for a long haul. If they spike up real hard and dip, I might sell on a peak and rebuy in. But that's down the road.
Yeah.
Currently, if they end up dropping this week at all, I would definitely be looking to average down some. But like I said, entry point at even at the top of this fib at that 44 cents per share. Even there, if you're looking for a long hold, isn't a bad buy-in, because they do have potential to be a lot worth a lot more.
sounds good. Did you hear? I don't know if you guys are interested in like content creation, all that. I heard some. There was a Bollywood Hollywood merger this weekend.
Oh yeah, that
Bollywood,
was with
Hollywood.
Eros International.
ARS.
I believe
Eros.
EROS possibly.
Yeah.
What was it? EROS.
Yes.
I believe they connected with a company out in LA that creates CSX. Maybe I think their name is.
Yeah, they now have offices in Los Angeles and Mumbai. It's connecting Hollywood and Bollywood. It's a good valuation, I've heard.
STX Entertainment, combined company Eros STX Global Corp will remain listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay. So can we look at the Eros STX? Eros STX. They don't have that one yet.
Oh no, just go EROS.
No. I'm looking down here. The
Oh,
combined company Eros STX Global Corp will remain listed on the New York Stock Exchange with headquarters in both Mumbai, India, and Burbank, California. So, in my opinion, reading that, there should be when they finish the merger, there should be a new stock. If I'm not reading that incorrectly, Eros STX Global. However, if it's just Eros International that we're looking at, let's take a look at their chart, see how high they could potentially go.
yeah, I think it's more of something to just keep an eye on because God knows how long this whole Corona thing is gonna last.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're looking at a pump, though, right?
Yeah,
So it's
I
good
agree.
news. There's definitely a potential for this to be a pump and
agree.
rebuy on the dip.
The PR
So,
will be out there tomorrow. Yeah.
for sure. And you can actually see right here, this is very close to when this was announced on April 17th. You see the jump up. Look at that spike.
Some people already dumped, huh?
Yeah, that's a spike, sell off, and a rebound. And now there's some consolidation going on. But what was this price here? 1.96 to 341 in a half hour.
Wow.
No, half hour, 30 minutes. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
So that is a stock I'm actually going to add to my personal watch list because I actually missed this news somehow over the weekend.
It's crazy how there's no notification. I mean, you can get them, but then you'll just be reading everything, man.
Yeah, and I mean, I have
Benzinga.
I have a news screener that it's a program that a buddy of mine helped me develop that kind of filters out relevant news and stuff that's going to be positive or negative in the market specifically. You can set filters for it and stuff, but I somehow missed this headline because that's a decently big deal for them in the long run.
Yes, I agree.
So there's that could be really cool.
Something to keep an eye on.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
I bought 50 shares of INSE. I think I was Thursday. Hopefully it works out for me. They made a deal with DraftKings, but there's just no sports right now.
I did see that actually. I was looking at buying in INSE. You bought in on Thursday, you said?
Yeah, I
This
got it. I
isn't
think
this the one we looked at on that Thursday
I
night?
believe so. I
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, this was one that we looked at.
There wasn't too much PR, but I think once sports are back, that one's gonna take off.
Yeah, I think that they have potential to jump up significantly
Yeah.
because DraftKings is a very popular gambling website.
They are, and they're basically licensing they're taking this INSE's technology for this virtual gambling, I guess.
That's interesting. That is really interesting. So this 1 month chart is putting INSE at 563. This looks like a very nice buy-in point, guys. If you're looking for
Yeah,
a longer haul.
yeah, I got in at 215. I think it fell a little bit before close because the volume was low, but
I mean,
I can see
over
it.
their 1 year chart, right?
Yeah.
They peaked around 909, but I'm talking even at their lower end, 652 in 2019.
I'll take 652 for a 215 buy-in.
I think honestly, if we get to August and September, when NFL comes back, because DraftKings and NFL go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
People are all over that for the fantasy football runs.
We're all degenerates. Yeah.
Pretty much. But they should have a run up around that time to probably similar to right before the drop,
Yeah. I agree.
if not higher.
Yeah, that might be a hold for now.
Yeah, if you have 50 shares at that buying price, I'm gonna be honest
I'm
with you,
just
I
gonna
would
forget
hold in
about
that
it. Yeah,
for a long time. That's what I would do. I would just sit on it.
for sure.
Real quick, while I'm thinking about it, Viacom. So Viacom CBS is been on my watch list. I have quite a few shares. I bought in at $13 on. I think I'm currently sitting on 75 shares at $13.
Damn, they're already 15.8. Okay.
Yep, I definitely had an increase on them, but they are a very, very good one to hold for long run equity and dividends because let's go to their 1 year chart. You can see the ridiculous drop that they had when sports went away. Okay, so
Wow.
this is a dip. I bought in just a little bit before that, about right there on March 23rd. But if we're looking at, July, $54 for this past year.
Oh, wow.
And with anticipation for March Madness, we're talking about that. They have the rights to quite a few of their games. They were actually on an uptrend, and then sports got canceled.
And they fell way down.
They fell way down.
Now they're running 2.5 men all day.
Yeah, pretty much. So I actually I had some in my Robinhood account that I had gotten as well because this is sitting in my Fidelity account personally right now to sit on the equity and watch it grow. But I had bought some around the same price. I think it was a little bit more expensive, like $13.89, and I actually sold it during that peak. Which, if we go down to the 1 month chart, we can see that peak of $16.90. I actually got to sell it right at $16.90, so I made a decent profit on those from $13 to $16.90. Do we have any other stocks we want me to look at while I got you guys all?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
RTX Raytheon.
RTX.
Oh, I heard about that. That sounds
Raytheon
good.
Technologies. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just read an article about it. Oh, it's a merger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're looking at a jump, guys. I'm gonna be honest. If they're on an uptrend, I would assume that is Raytheon part of the quantum index.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know if they are or not. I wasn't sure.
I think they get a lot of military contracts.
Raytheon does.
I believe so, but double
I don't
check.
have a ton of info on Raytheon. I'm gonna be honest. It's not one that I've done a ton of
Yes, someone said defense contracts.
defense contracts. All right.
Yeah, Raytheon's got $65 billion in backorder defense contracts.
Good.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a good number to throw out there.
Yeah.
So they were hitting at 92 per share. And if you were able to buy in on this dip at $43, you'd already be making a 21% equity increase. That's crazy.
Yep. Yep.
With potential to be making a 33 on top of the current buy-in.
Yep. That's a hold.
I definitely think that just based on the small chart that I'm looking at, they are definitely a really, really nice stock to be buying into because they're still paying out their dividends into February. That is one of the first stocks I've actually been analyzing recently that I've noticed this dividend here, given it was on February 14th and not later in the February. But anyways, let's look at their 5-day chart. They're on a huge uptrend here from here. This little dip, I'm not really sure. That's a consolidation pattern for sure. As soon as they broke support there, they skyrocketed. And that's not even breaking support. That's actually a gap up. So they gapped way up and then climbed. So I would say Monday, they're probably having a decent, well, at market open in the morning. I'd be looking at their pre-market somewhere in the 67 range, 68 range, with potential to make a $2 or $3 run. But looking at their last month of trading, they'll do a little run, dip back, run, and dip back. So this is still an uptrend, right? So we got low, new high, higher low, higher high, right? So we're actually expecting this to, well, since that's the, technically, if we're looking at the pattern from here, that's the higher low. We're looking for a higher high now. So what was that at? 67.81. I'd probably expect a gap up above 67.81 or close to it, based on the uptrend and based on the jumps that they're making from close to open. That's a $2 gap up. So I would expect a $2 gap up, similar gap up from Friday to there. And if they have, you said 62 billion in back order contracts.
Yeah.
That's insane. So you're probably looking at a potential $90 to $100 stock here in the next few months once production picks back up for everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. That's a great company to add to the watch list. I will be watching them very closely to see what they're doing.
So on Boeing,
Yes.
do we think it's going to be a good put option right now with oil spiking in production and shipping?
Boeing. So here's my thing with Boeing. They had just hired back 30K workers, and they're going to be going back into production for the 737. However, there's no airlines to buy their 737s. So I'm not really sure what the point of going back into production for them is if they can't sell them. So in my opinion, that was a PR move to show good faith that COVID was not an issue for them. This huge gap up here after that announcement is ridiculous. That's a $20 swing. $18 swing in a day. In a day. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that helped my position for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Zoom, is that you? Or Rumsey?
Nah, that was Pepe.
Oh, you had a position on them?
I had 5.
Really? I did not know that. Yeah, Rumsey's actually holding a $55 call on them.
Ooh.
Yeah, so he bought that down here, and it was he has 2 contracts. He got in at 50 cents per contract for premium
Oh, wow.
price.
Goodness gracious.
So that one's printing for him pretty nice.
Yeah, just to say the least.
So as long as, if we're looking at their 1 day, I mean, we're looking at their 5-day, they're on a downtrend, and then this gap up, they've been on an uptrend. So we're really working off the 1-day chart because that's all PR news, right?
Yep.
So we're looking at this being we're actually probably looking at a resistance level here, or a support level at 149 to 120-ish, right? So this is their support level they're currently holding, because you're not seeing them dip below that. And I would say that they're testing resistance here at 153.70 to 154, actually. Probably a 30-cent low gap there for them, because that's tiny. That's resistance level. I'd be really curious if they gap up in the morning and you're holding calls. They could have a really red week by the end of it, because they're. I don't think there's going to be a lot of market for their overproduced planes at this point, personally. But I mean, if you watch their 16th to that gap up, they're testing this resistance over and over and over. So we're probably looking at a gap up to 158, 50. Wow, that's a huge gap up from 1.272. I'd be surprised if it actually hits 159. I mean, that'd be great for you guys if you're holding calls, but that's potential there. But that's based on this giant jump, which was pretty much a PR move in my opinion. So the one-day chart's more accurate here if we were to draw the trend line, and then we're looking at a much different chart. We're probably looking at this line being down closer to this line. So even 156, though, if that's their top resist, or if that's the next resistance level, we're looking at a nice little consolidation pattern probably. And in my opinion, I think they'll go down as the week goes on, unless no, I take that back. I think that they're going to hold probably in between 148 to 160 range for most of the week. Because Boeing is backed by the government very heavily, right? Not all of their stuff is for the public or the consumer side, commercial side. They have potential to go a lot higher because they're backed by military support. So I don't think Boeing's going to be one that's going to hit that 130 range anytime soon again. So if you guys got to buy in at that one, I applaud you. That was a move of all moves. Because this PR move saved their stock price, in my opinion. Yeah. Does that answer your question pretty well?
Yeah.
All right. We got any more? I got about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to head off for the night.
Yeah. Quick question. TRNX. That was very heavy volume. I think it was number 1 to close the weekend, Friday.
TRNX was a penny stock, right? That was being traded vigorously.
I believe it went up to 50 cents before coming back down to 33. I think aftermarket 35 or 36 cents.
That reminds me of my Acorn call. I bought a $5 Acorn call. I was up like $35 on. Should have sold it.
Dude, I was laughing Friday morning when you guys were going crazy over Acorn.
Well, I was just tracking it more than anything. It was just making me laugh because, like, there's such a small penny stock. I bought a 50-cent call, and I went up $35 on it. For it, the strike price was 50 cents. I paid literally $3 for the contract, and I was up 35. But their future looks decent enough where I think I could hold that contract and actually end up making a decent chunk. I'm still in the profit side on it, so like, and at the end of the day, it's freaking $3. I don't care.
Yeah, there you go.
Like that's not a position that's going to make or break anyone in the history of the world. So if $3 is your name and that's oh man, that's
just wait, True. Wait for confirmation.
Yeah, wait for confirmation. Jeez, man. Oh wow, that is a great jump from the 15th at 11 cents all the way up to 40.
I think Friday alone went from 33 to 50. The range.
Did it? Let's look at Friday. Friday, we're looking at 26 actually.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
That's crazy. And now they're back at 33. Let's see what we can find on their news, because honestly, I have no idea why that would have moved so much.
Yeah, I don't even know what they do. It's a tech company. Yeah, it's a tech company.
Is it an energy company? do they create like? Here, let's actually jump over to.
I'll pull it up for you.
No, I got it, bro. I'm gonna just do like a general Google search for TRNX. Just see what pops up.
Yeah, you were right.
NASDAQ provides temporary regulation relief for NASDAQ TRNX. So they're not being pushed to delist by the NASDAQ because they've been too low for too long.
Mm.
Let's look at
I
stock
think
twits real quick.
Yeah.
I don't like stock twits, but we're gonna look at see what they said.
it's an alternative energy company.
Yeah, stock twits is dang near useless. Yeah,
Stock.
alternative. What?
They probably just
the
said
spike.
Yeah, I like TRNX's little jump here, but I mean, other than that, I don't know enough about it to give you an accurate assessment if it's going to repeat.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I would have to look at their earnings report they posted on the 6th and sort of look and see what they do. But that's August of last year, spiking up to 423, and I mean they're consistently above 65 cents the entire year, a year from today back. So that could be, I mean, 33 cents isn't a bad buy-in if you think it's going to go back up over $1.
Yeah.
So
sure.
maybe grab like 100 shares and watch it sit, you know.
Yep.
Every
For
penny
sure.
it goes up, you're making $1 profit.
Yes, sir.
So that one actually might gap up, honestly, looking at it because
Yeah.
of such a high volume over the last.
I think it was number one in volume.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a ridiculous amount of volume for a penny stock to be getting.
I know.
So we're probably looking at a really decent gap up, maybe into the 40 range. I would wait for a sell-off and try and buy a dip.
Yeah.
But I mean, even at 40 to 60 is, I mean, that's a 20-cent jump. That's $20 you make if you buy 100 shares. So it depends on what you're looking to do with it. If you're looking for a longer hold, that's maybe not the worst one in the world, but
Yeah. One last question.
Yep.
And you don't gotta dig into it, but because I pretty much got the numbers. Halliburton, they're releasing their earnings tomorrow.
What's their ticker?
HAL.
HAL.
I made some decent money off them last week on just a couple days and dumped it before
Swing
Monday.
trade? Did you do a swing trade? Bought it and sold it a couple days later?
I bought it at 671, got rid of it at 752. I felt like the wolf on Wall Street.
Yeah, I bet. How many shares were you working with?
Unfortunately, only 50 shares.
I mean, that's still a decent profit right there, my guy.
It's my biggest profit so far in a week, so I feel good.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm glad you're making gains. That's the goal. If we're not making gains, then I'm not helping. Yeah, they're on a really nice uptrend here. This is beautiful, actually.
Yeah, I like how they went down and came up within a day, dude. Because it's a good company.
Even their dips aren't even that bad, man. Like, really.
Yeah. I think the 52 week low is probably 420 or something.
Let's look at their 1 year. Actually, yeah, 457 is what it's looking at. 457. Here, I'll look at their 3 month. I should be able to get a more definite. 439. Yeah, you're probably right around 420. Well, if you know when a stock hits 420, something's gonna happen, either good or bad. So
Right now it's 420.
Yeah, no.
Hey, for real.
Yeah, so you guys know what you got to do before market open, right? I'm
Let's
not
go.
endorsing anything.
Get my mind right.
Keep in mind, Halliburton's also an oil company.
Yes.
That's interesting why they're rising with.
So they're also
Yeah, but
defense contract as well. They have some stuff with the Defense Department.
Oh, got you. That would make more sense on why they're getting a little bit of a rise up. I like this high over here in March. That's a lot different price. I honestly would be looking for them to drop though if they
Yeah.
do have some solid oil contribution for their revenue. Because offshore oils, they're sinking. I mean, even just on Yahoo, they're saying that. But I mean, we just talked about it, right? Saudi Arabia sending the 40 million barrels. Like we're just we're just U.S. that got that. You got to think that they maxed out all the other people before they send it to us.
For sure.
So we're not looking at having any oil stocks going up. If their defense contracts are coming out in like some ridiculous amounts of money or something, then maybe you're looking at a rise. But personally, based on oil dropping 17% in the last since Friday, we're proud.
Gosh went up a lot Friday.
Since Friday, oil has gone from $18 down to $15. So that probably will not be the case for Monday. Did you buy into Gush?
I own Gush, but I had a Gush call that expired Friday. I think I talked to you about it. And when I first talked to you, it was at 22. My strike was 25, and it hit it.
Did it really? Wow.
We closed over 25.
Nice. I do think that they will be gapping down personally. Like I said earlier with like USWS, Rig, PACD, a lot of those drilling companies and oil companies will probably be taking a hit this week with the surplus. With the price dropping so much, if they're going up, there's some market manipulation going on. I'm just going to be honest. It makes absolutely no sense.
For sure.
There's some bailout money coming from somewhere.
Yeah. Dick Cheney.
for-
Dick Cheney ran Halliburton before he ran for office.
Oh, did
So
he?
Correct.
he's getting those contracts.
Yeah, for sure. That would make some sense actually. Why they would have defense contracts.
That is why they have defense contracts.
It's the reason.
Yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense.
They got into the defense contracts about 2003, 2004 when we went into Iraq.
Makes sense.
Got you.
So while we're on the topic, and I'm still kind of got you guys' attention with the defense stuff, you guys had talked about Raytheon earlier. I don't know if some of you guys know this already or not, but I currently serve. So with defense contracts, right? So Raytheon, they're all over everything that I work on.
They're everywhere.
Any of the big tanks and stuff like that, Raytheon's throughout them. Another company to look at defense contract wise would be BAE. It's a United Kingdom company, but they are
Yes.
heavy on U.S. defense contracts, right?
Base systems.
Yep.
Yeah, they made the Avros, didn't they?
Yeah. So they are real big in the Bradley, which is a tracked vehicle, heavy tracked vehicle. It's just smaller. It's one of the biggest combat platforms that they have besides the tank. All right. And then another one would be General Dynamics land systems.
You said General
So if you're-
Dynamic. What is their ticker? Do you know?
It might be GLDS. No.
General Dynamics.
GD. There it is.
That's easy. Easy to remember. Let's look at their full chart. And while that's
And
loading,
then-
I'll grab this base systems one to look at. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going, Tim.
So that BAE systems, I don't know why that was showing OTC because it should be on the New York Stock Exchange.
Maybe I clicked the wrong one. Let me.
And then there's Northman Grumman, which is another one. That one's probably out of reach for some people. That one, they had a huge defense contract a few years ago, and it spiked over 300.
I'm not seeing base systems hitting a New York Stock Exchange. I'm only having them hit OTC.
Okay.
What about that one right there, the BAE systems? with the
It's still
BAESY.
showing.
Yeah, it's still a
Oh, yeah, I see.
OTC
I got
though.
you. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's the BA because it's a United Kingdoms. So it's the second one down right there. Should be like
Wow, that's a hefty stock.
yeah.
Jeez.
So that's the uh, United Kingdoms. They're loaded up on U.S. defense contracts. So those are the
Man,
three that I know of that are super heavy. BAE, General Dynamics, and then Northrop Grumman, which is the ticker I want to say is NOG.
here, let me pull this one
Um,
open. And then
That BAESY, I just pulled it up on Robinhood and it came up. Like I can buy. It's not unsupported. Is that?
Oh,
All right,
I
so
think
is that the BAESY? Is that the one that's like $28 or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I think it was
Yeah.
27.
what was that last one, Zoom, that you said?
I want to say it's NOG.
NOG.
Northman Grumman. Yeah.
That one?
Northern Oil and Gas.
Nostrum Oil and Gas PLC ORD.
No, I don't
It's
think
a
it's that one.
LLC.
No.
What is it
No.
called? How do you spell it? My bad. Actually, throw it in
Northman,
the chat real quick.
NOR.
Throw it in the
Yep.
chat real quick. I'll
Got it.
copy and paste it over.
It's NOC, November Oscar
NOC.
Charlie.
Yep, that's what it is. Yep. Remember
Let's
Oscar?
see. This one, New York
Yep.
Stock Exchange. All right. We can grab this one first. So you said that they have a ton of defense contracts right now, BA Systems, BAE.
BAE, all three of the ones I just listed are heavy
Heavy defense
defense. Yeah.
contracts.
Yep.
All right. That's good to
Like
know.
BAE does the Bradley, General Dynamics does the Abrams tank, and Northman Grumman does a lot of miscellaneous stuff.
Tech stuff.
One
Yeah.
of the biggest ones they're in is software system support.
Wow. If BAE breaks his support next week, that's a big run up to 74 before they hit the next resistance. 574. That might be one I'm gonna look some more into in depth before I make any proclamations of what I think is gonna happen,
Yeah.
because I honestly have zero background on them or any of the ones you just said. Honestly, what was this?
Like I said earlier, it
God,
might
this
be
is solid.
bigger stocks, you know, a little bit heavy hitters for
But-
most of the people in here, but I know some of them have some bigger accounts that might be able to swing these.
Yeah, for sure.
Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer. He's working with loads. I'm liking this little uptrend here. We're probably looking at a nice little run up to there at open, and that'll even change the chart. So you're probably looking at like their next resistance being up near here, because for them a $20 jump is only like 2%, 3%. So they can yeah, see, like a $10 jump is 2.91%. So if they increase another $20, that's a 5% increase. So I could see them increasing 5% over the next week or so, if not more than that, because they're on they jumped from, what was the one? Here, we'll look at the 5-day dip, 334 to 356, and they ended on a high point. That's a $20 jump in a week. That's what I'm saying. By the end of the week, I think they could be hitting that 374 resistance range that I was pointing out just a second ago. Just
Hold their
based on
5-year real quick.
yeah, 5-year. Man, they're on an upswing from their 5-year.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's a really nice stock right here, guys. You don't see this very often. This amount of growth. That dip, they recovered so well from. and it looks like they're going to do it again and probably reach new highs based on this. Right, this is our little M pattern.
Man, any of these companies, these big ones that work with military, they're not going anywhere.
No, they're not. GD's the one I hadn't looked at yet, right?
Correct.
Okay, let's take a gander. Oh, what's their 5-year look like? They've had a very volatile 5-year. This is what I'm more used to seeing for a 5-year.
Yeah.
Not that constant growth like that. 1 year, of course, they would have the dip. That's that March 23rd. So this whole week here, that was horrible. From the 13th to the 23rd, we saw some of the lowest lows of like a while for a lot of companies. I wish I would have been in a position to buy a surplus of stocks at the time.
Same. I think you could have struck gold on anything that day.
Dude, anything. You'd be up tons. Had I had a little more buyer power in my equities account, I'd be looking a lot healthier than the drop off they were doing.
So the main reason why I brought these up is because you were talking Raytheon and Boeing defense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a good.
It fit the topic.
No, I 100% agree. I think that these are really good stocks for us to keep number one in the back of our mind when we think about recovering economy, because as soon as production goes back into or as soon as we go back into production, I feel like defense contracts are going to take priority over commercial.
Yeah, and not just that, we're going to be running and gunning looking for war.
I mean, I'm not going to say no, but I mean, I like this stock's current 2-day jump that they did. That's a nice little uptrend. This one I don't have as much like lovely little stock chart to look at. I think me personally adding to my watch list, I like this Bay Systems, and I really like this Northrop Grumman Corp, because like I said, you don't see this often.
Yeah.
So that's impressive. I like this stock a lot. Just looking at this chart, I'm very impressed with the stock.
I just wish you could see the 10-year.
Is it even better?
Yeah,
I'm sure it is.
Was down in it
Oh
was under
my
100.
goodness. Look, there's an all-time.
Oh wow.
So this is think if you would have been able to buy in at
So I want to say they got in real heavy at that 2009 mark is when they got into real good contracts with the
and it shows.
department.
Yeah.
January 1st in 1969. That's the buy-in price right there. $2.73. Yeah, if you would have bought 100K shares, right? 100,000 shares.
Goodness.
To there.
Yep.
Sold it. What do you do? What do you do?
I
go buy an island.
You'd be somewhere in the Maldives, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. I just want to, for myself, I want to make that calculation. That's hilarious. 100K.
Calculator for all of us.
Yeah.
So I was at a military course a couple weeks ago, and we had one of our civilian instructors, and he said he bought Northrop Grumman in 2003. Said he bought, I think, 5,000 shares in 2003, and he still holds.
Oh yeah.
I would. He has 5,000 shares, you said?
Yeah. Well, that's what he told us. I don't know if he has more or not, but he said, he was kind of bragging on a portfolio.
200K, man, that's a nice little investment right there. But now it's worth
9 times that. Yeah, 10 times that.
Minus 40 times 5,000 shares. He's worth 1.5 million now from a $200,000 investment.
Goodness.
Talk about a return. My word, guys. That's what I aspire to be eventually,
Yeah.
I want to say that my equities account went from 200K to a 1.5 million on one stock.
Yeah.
That'd be impressive.
And to him it was a no-brainer at the time too, because he knows they were getting the contracts, and or there's probably rumors of it or whatever,
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that we had a really productive little session here. Like I said, I'm gonna post this onto our YouTube channel, do a little editing, cut out some of my stuttering, all that fun stuff. But I hope you guys had as much fun as I did.
Thank you.
Totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank
Not
you.
a,
Next time.
not a problem, guys.
Bye, man.
I will post this and throw in my pre-market watch list the morning. So you guys have a good night. See you at open.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, you too.
Sure.